The following is a Hoop Ball presentation. Welcome to the Fantasy NBA Today podcast.
Oh my God. Guys, I don't want to alarm you, but there was a knock at the podcast door and you would not believe who walked into the podcast room. I'm like, I didn't even recognize him. His neck looks more upright to me, although he does appear to be a bit tired, fatigued. I mean, I'm not even sure. Is it really you? Is it you?
It's me, bitches.
Drew, oh my God, it's been so long, but Aaron, I don't know that we can just welcome you back to the podcast like you haven't been gone. I feel like you need to pay a toll to get back on this thing. What do you think we ought to do? What do you think? This is me teeing it up. What do you think the toll should be to bring you back onto the podcast after leaving us so high and so dry for so long?
You gotta pay the toll.
I'm so glad you were thinking that. You want to get the boys' soul?
Oh, what's the toll? How about Deandre Aiden at 36?
Wait, whoa. I'm sorry. Wait, hold on a minute. Deandre Aiden, the basketball player at 36 in the B150?
Yeah.
9 or 8 cat. What do you got? Which one is that?
No, that's his 8 cat, and his 9 cat's 40.
Oh my God.
And I don't even like it. I don't even like it.
Wait, what does that mean? Okay, so schmaltz aside, we are actually giving out we'll call this a Bruski mini sleeper here, right at the very start of the show.
This is a sleeper, man. This is like he was in contention for the HB6. Like I every year there's a really good rookie that people struggle to place in the top parts of drafts. Deandre Aiden is that guy. I don't even think he's that. Like I didn't think he was a lock as the number 1 overall pick in the real draft. That said, I mean the Suns can really do some stupid stuff. They're stupid over there. Don't get me wrong. I mean the Suns are really, really bad at what they do.
Hey, we still like you guys, listeners from Phoenix. Please feel free to continue listening.
Oh no, they're gonna tweet at me. That said, like he's just gonna get in there, and even if he's not good, he's just gonna get numbers. And it's, we really looked at, or I should say I did, because I'm the only one crazy enough to do this. Mm-hmm. I really looked at his college stuff and really tried to compare him to other players of his ilk and really try to understand what he was going to be walking into at the NBA level. And you know what? I bet I'm not the only one on Deandre Aiden that has him this high. He's going at 60, 70 right now in drafts, and yeah, I got him at the end of round 3.
Yeah, Yahoo has his ADP at 67.9, and you have him...
Oh, that's going down then. I had him at 68.4 last night. Or actually, was that last night? No, that was on... My ADP data for that is probably about a few days old. So yeah, that's going down.
I already forgot what number you had him at. I got to write this thing down.
I'm at 36 in 8 cat and 40 in 9 cat.
Oof. So let me ask you this, because you're giving away...
Is that going to be fun to pick? No.
No. Well, so, okay, that's actually one of my questions is, where would you take him at this point? You're not going to take him at 36, because then there's nowhere to go but down.
Right. And that's that might be the story of this season in a nutshell. And it's partly due to the lack of player movement. It's partly due to people who believe that standing on the top of the mountain in August and yelling about players' names is going to be a good thing, not just for themselves, but their listeners and their readers. And it's not. There's a lot of hyped up guys. The profit margins are gone. I know you were talking during our pre-meeting about your strategy or what are your strategies for this year about sort of zigging when everybody else is zagging? There's going to be an element of that. This is a precision season. It's also a public season, as I wrote in the open of the B150. And thank you guys very much for listening and supporting us. And everything you do here allows us to do more for you guys. So I guess it's one big circle. But thank you. And
Kumbaya.
Writing about that in the open, it's because it's a public season, the ADPs are going to be closer to the realities. And as owners, we're going to have to get in there and really take advantage of the opportunities to gain value where they exist. And one of those ways might be what you're talking about and going sort of zigging when the market's zagging. There's going to be these big names, the John Collins and the Jared Allens of the world that are going early. And it's like, should I get them? Should I not? Is there a profit margin? Is there not? These are the questions we're going to seek to ask and get answered. And, I looking at our list here, I'm very excited that we have our list because I feel good about our list. And I feel like in a year like this that might be difficult to get over as an expert, as a ringer, having what I have, I feel a lot better than I did about a month ago.
Okay, so Deandre Aiden, let's start there. You also mentioned John Collins and Jared Allen, but I want to go through this step by step just to make sure we kind of cover all of our bases. Number one, hello. That's number one. Aaron and I haven't talked on a podcast in a really long time. How have you been? My God, man. Like, what have you been doing? What have you been doing?
I'm better every year. I get old. It gets easier, believe it or not. The process gets better. Every year I kind of approach it in what can I do better this year? What worked? What didn't work? And then, we run that really extensive analysis that I'm pretty sure that you were like, you crazy MFer, why do you do this? When I review the previous year's Bruski 150, I do that because I want to know that we're winning, and we are. I do that because I want to see where things went wrong, and I want to try to apply the right fixes to those things. And so if you check out evaluating the 2017-2018 Bruski 150, just search Bruski 150 on the site and it'll pop up. You can see what I did going through that. We actually had a great year last year. We won 60% of our picks compared to Roto World. Obviously, Roto World's a huge beast. I used to work over there. The guys over there know so much about fantasy basketball. They're really good at what they do. If we're beating them 60-40, I am in love with that number. So that was good news. But yeah, no, the process itself of putting the Bruski 150 together, it's pretty grindy. Like I'm pretty hurt today. Went to bed about 5 a.m. after sending the ship into the ocean. Every time I do that, it's kind of like Christmas. I kind of know who's going to be on my fantasy teams. I know who we're going to talk about. I know who we're going to pub. I know who we're going to root for all season. And then I still don't really know because the drafts haven't happened yet. So there's the excitement leading up to the drafts, the big money drafts. My high stakes entries are all set in stone. So I'm excited about that. I'm very happy this is done, though. Very happy this is done because it is a lot of work. We start in July. July 15th is generally kind of the ballpark of when I start. And it's about 4 to 8 hours per day, depending on the day that we're talking about. I take a couple breaks. I had about 1 to 2 vacations during that time every year to just kind of decompress. But it's 4 to 8 hours per day for all those other days. And it is just about getting the numbers right. And that's how I know these are good, because I know what I have to do to make sure that the number is accurate. Whatever number we're talking about, I know what we have to do that. There are not any number of background noises that could help get off track in this podcast. There are not enough crazy people out there who would do this. So I know what we have to do to get these numbers right. And I know that as a result, we're going to be one of the few sites that have this advantage for not just ourselves but our readers.
Those binging.
So I'm excited.
Bloopings.
I'm tired, and thank you very much for asking.
Yeah, the bings and the bloops. I assume that's just that's like the electronic cash register.
My phone hasn't stopped blowing up since I woke up.
One thing, obviously, you can follow Aaron on Twitter at Aaron Bruski. I'm available at Dan Besbris if you'd like to ask any additional questions. Hopefully, this at least begins to clear that up. We got the draft guide for sale. That's a thing right now. But before we get into that, I did have a follow-up on Deandre Aiden, and then I want to talk more draft guide stuff. So I just kind of want to know the lead-up, the methodology. Not necessarily all the secrets of the B150, but how did you end up with Aiden at such a high mark after him sort of not really impressing in Summer League? And, how does it translate to you?
I mean, inherent within your question is tell me how the Bruski 150 works. So thank you very much. I'm going to sidestep now. The methodology, I think for him, the background thinking that sort of drove the numbers is, at Arizona, he was used pretty similarly, I think, to how he will be used in the NBA. Now, the court will be more spaced. He's going to be working with professionals. He won't be taking quite the same shots. But I think with that group of front court players around him, he will be the focal point of the front court attack. So he'll get a lot of shots in the post. He's going to have the expansive game that he's sort of flashed in the past. I don't expect big things out of him, actually. That's the weird part about this particular rank, is that I just think that he can almost get in there and just sort of be bad at what he does and still, for instance, shoot 56.8% from the field. I don't have him taking a ton of shots.
56.8, huh? That seems like you did some
rather specific of me there.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
I think Phoenix makes it. This is where. So if you asked me earlier where I would take it, would probably be the 4th round.
Okay.
And then, you probably could get him in the 5th round. And maybe even the 6th round, depending on who you're playing against. All the guys that I'm going to play against in the ringer leagues and the big high stakes leagues, and mind you, literally, I think the entire league buys the Bruski 150 now, which sucks, which is great. It's a great compliment. Thank you very much, guys. We'll take your money. But I would like to take the bigger piece of money from you guys in those drafts. So those guys, though, and I think that the other side's going to catch up on Deandre Aiden as well. And so you're not going to get him, I don't think, at the 5th. So you probably got to take him in the 4th. How I feel about that, I feel pretty good about taking him in the 4th. And I feel good about the ranking. Each pick in any of these guys has downside risk. And I think with Aiden, the downside risk is that he really struggles against NBA defenses, that he maybe isn't quite the rebounder that we think he is, that he turns into a total nothing in the steals department, and maybe he's not able to get the block totals. Maybe he deals with foul trouble. These are things that you worry about with a rookie. But other than a total implosion, he can kind of trip and fall and get to some of these numbers. So I don't like taking rookies this high. I don't like Deandre Aiden, the player. I don't want to say I don't like him as a player. I just think that I wouldn't have had him as the consensus, no holds barred, number 1 overall pick in this particular draft. I'd probably have Luka Doncic ahead of him.
But not from a fantasy perspective.
Oh, hell no.
Okay. All right. So you told me beforehand that I could drop this, but Brew has also said he's willing to titillate the listeners with more sleepers on this thing. You're coming out here fists flying on your return to the podcast. Want to give me one more?
Sure. Let's say. I mean, is it a sleeper though?
I don't know. It depends who it is.
I kind of want to just talk about Collins and Allen.
Okay, I mean, I would still say
these are the guys that everybody's talking about, right?
Collins is definitely not anymore. Allen, sorta, right? There's some people who think he's a massive sleeper. There's some people who think he's not at all. I think the fact that there is some measure of discussion on him means that he still could be one. I think with Collins, it's like a how much, right? That one's that one's probably the sleeper, non-sleeper. But we can talk about both of those guys. Which one do you want to start with?
Well, I like both of them. I mean, I think I like Collins over Allen, even though I think it's understood that Collins is going to have a better chance of success than Allen. I just think that Collins has no sort of weird, odd thing, that could bring him down. I don't think there's anything that can bring him down. With Allen, it's Brooklyn, it's Kenny Atkinson, it's these guys all playing 24 minutes a night. That whole thing's been part of that franchise for a couple years now. And Allen, it wasn't like he was just sort of like knocked down, drag out good every time he was on the floor last year. He was good many times, but with Collins, you really knew what you were getting. He just sort of did his thing every night, and he can build off that very easily. With Allen, he's going to have to come in and really give owners the blocks, that they're signing up for. I think that he's got the body type and I guess temperament's the thing that he's been questioned for, but the whole size speed package and really the second year of a guy's career is oftentimes his best year for blocks. So I think that, he's definitely a good player, but like Allen, I can see the bottom falling out of. Where Collins, I just don't see that happening at all.
Yeah,
minus
the
an
minutes
injury
thing, right? It comes down to a minutes thing to a certain degree, right?
Well, this is the weird thing with Collins, and I've seen this like somewhere written, I forget where, that he's going to be playing 35 minutes per game. And I'm sitting there going, man, if John Collins was playing 35 minutes per game, he'd be like a second-round player. Like, what are we talking about here? I don't think that he's playing that many minutes per game. I think, and that's actually kind of why I'm more intrigued by him than I probably should be. Collins is, I'll just give out some more stuff here. Why not? I got him at 29 minutes per game.
Okay.
And currently he's in the B150, 43, 39, 8 and 9 cut. So right about 40. So if he does well, he can actually climb beyond this mark. And so that's why I like Collins. And he is going 53 and 9 cat. The ESPN ADPs that I got just last night, I don't know how much I trust these numbers, but he's going 72.
Yeah, I don't buy that. That sounds crazy.
In a competitive draft, I think Collins is going 4th or 5th round. And I'm actually a little bit more comfortable with him than Deandre Aiden. But with big men in particular, and Aiden being more of a traditional big man, they climb the ranks so freaking fast. And it's percentages and blocks and boards that do it. And a little bit of worry that John Collins might start playing around with more of a perimeter game. But, the hype is real, and the hype is well-founded, and that Atlanta team is also going to really open the throttle. They got an offensive coordinator that is going to encourage them to run, encourage them to shoot, and it could just turn into an ugly, beautiful mess of fantasy statistics. You're going to have Trae Young out there doing God knows what, and they're going to need their best players to step up.
This is why, by the way, and we'll get into the zigzag discussion, Jeremy Lin falls into my category of he's a zag fellow because there is all this like weird craziness going on that team, and there's room for someone to come in and be like, can I settle this down?
If they keep him at 27 minutes per game, which is his absolutely the most he can play in a game without getting hurt, he can be great. He can absolutely be great. He's a great late round target.
As folks have heard, I am beginning to go a different direction with a lot of my stuff, and we're gonna talk about the zig and zag in just a few moments here. Brew, can you repeat for everyone, because you gave it out, and it was like almost hidden in a really nice discussion there. You gave out John Collins' ranking in the B150 as well. You've now given out Aiden and Collins.
Yeah, that's probably not smart from a keeping it all underneath the radar perspective, but you know what? These guys have been talked about. Like, I don't know that we're Aiden, I don't think people realize how valuable he is. But Collins has been the guy. I look around and I'm seeing this was, I think probably like in late August, early September, people are like, yeah, John Collins is an early round guy. And I'm like, man, that's some bold stuff to be saying in early, August, but it's absolutely right. And I think we're getting to the answer a little differently. Again, I got him at 29 minutes per game. Other guys got him at 35 minutes per game.
It's a lot, man.
That's like Tom Thibodeau just suddenly went and coached the Atlanta Hawks.
He might not last that much longer in Minnesota.
Oh God, and that stuff's beautiful to talk about. But yeah, no, it's John Collins is one I want to talk about, and with Allen, where do I got Allen? Let's give some free stuff out here.
You're giving a third one out?
I'm gonna give a fourth one out, Dan.
All right, well, we're gonna hold off on that.
You know why? You know why? Because we have so many better.
All right, give the third one. Give the third one, but don't do the fourth one yet. I need people to have a reason to listen to the rest of the show.
The third one, the third Jared Allen, right. I got him at 67 and 58. And here's what I think I want people to take away from that is
that's for 8 and 9 respectively, right?
Yeah, right. I think I'll be a little bit behind somewhere where the hype lands with Jared Allen. And it's early. We could see in preseason the something is not working. So that there's some sort of hitting of the brakes with the Jared Allen hype train, and it could happen to anybody. And that's why these ranks are what they are right now. They're going to change as we go. I'm going to get more aggressive as we go. You want to keep checking back, making sure you got the most recent stuff, and then you're going to see some names that blow your mind. But yeah, Jared Allen, I think we might keep it real there, where others overextend themselves. And I think we'll be right on point with where he's at.
When keeping it real goes wrong.
Or right,
perhaps. Okay, so you've dropped 3 sleepers on this thing. I feel like everybody owes us at this point now. Tell me what we got for sale at Hoop Ball.
Okay, what do we have for sale? Aside from the early onboarding first-class ticket to the Bruski 150 that we have yet to name, that's open now. If you subscribe to the draft guide, you can get that for $9.99. If you don't subscribe to the draft guide and you're just like, I got to get the list, which is what I do with Evan Silva's stuff over at Roto World for football. It's like, just give me the list. I just need the list. That's it. That's
junky
for sale right now, $29.99 if you're not doing the draft guide. So 10-1. The draft guide subscribers, they get the Bruski 150 as a part of their draft guide subscription. And by the way, you got to read all the other stuff. The player profiles alone were some of the best I've ever seen. Talking about value per word. A lot of player profiles are just he played basketball. It was great. Draft him in a fantasy draft.
That's very much, that's your Monty from Major League. Fly ball caught.
Yes, exactly. These things are per word, the value just emanating out of these player profiles. You got to go read them.
By the way, can I jump in and say I actually read the punt article and the auction draft article. Really good stuff, kind of breaking down strategies for both of those things. I don't do many auction drafts, so that was kind of fun for me. And then the punt article just on the best ways to punt, basically what categories are actually advantageous to consider punting in a head-to-head format. That was enlightening.
I think this is the difference between this year's draft guide and it's the best draft guide I've ever been a part of. And that's no slight to the previous guys. I think that everything evolves, everything changes. The amount of work that we put in over at Roto World, I bet those guys are working harder now, and we over here are definitely working harder and putting in more just elbow grease into getting the player profiles to where the values where they need to be. I mean, we're going to tell you their injury histories. Every injury they ever had practically is in these guides. So you can actually, in the middle of the year, if you see somebody gets an ankle injury, it's like, which ankle was that? Oh, is that the one that he's got long-term problems with? Oh yeah, it is. So,
by the way, I got to jump in right now. And then we can, you mentioned the term elbow grease, and it reminded me of a great conversation I had with my cousin who we learned didn't know what elbow grease was. Her fiance they were describing how they were going to do something around their apartment, and he said to her, "All we need is a little elbow grease," and her reply was, "What cabinet is that in?" Are we alone? Like, I assume the listeners know what elbow grease is, right? They worked real hard. I just needed to clear that up because apparently some people don't know what that is. I think my cousin might. Sorry, Nicole. I'm calling you out.
It might be like
you
a
might
farm term. I know there's a lot of things Americans say are from farm.
I know, but I thought everybody knew that one. Elbow grease. That's it. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, Nicole. You're getting called out on this one.
Sorry, Nicole. The elbow grease in this, the articles, the difference is that the guys that we have writing for us are just pure ringers. Like Chef, that dude eats, breathes, sleeps, and specifically head to head. Like, so these punt articles, they're not just like, hey, you punt your free throws, it's really cool. Like these are the areas that the pockets of value within each category that if you're going to go down this road, these are the things that you can do. And so that's nice. Zach Bodine, our dynasty guy, this is all he does is dynasty. He's like a dynasty freak, and so we go down the line. Suryo, Josh, and Josh came up with that fantasy league that we're doing right now, where it's a career,
this is another podcast
lifetime
altogether.
History of the game. So we're drafting any player that's ever played, but combining them with current players, and this format is phenomenal. And this is his passion project. This is what he does, and these guys are writing these articles, and I'm reading these things, and I'm going, man, that's sometimes I just pinch myself because a lot of times draft guides, what I've found is the articles just sort of get thrown together. These articles stand on their own weight. They're their own little mini Bruski 150s. I don't know that they're doing 3 hours or probably 3 months of research and really really doing that for one article, but they're putting a ton of time into these things. And so it's been a great release. It's been a great season. Draft guide season.
Other times, by the way, Brew pinches himself because he actually is falling asleep while driving. I wish you'd get a little bit more rest.
I'm doing okay, Dan.
Okay, good.
I'm a little bit, like I said, it's getting a little easier every single year, and right. But that's a testament to the team we have here. You guys make my lives easy. It's I don't see this anywhere else in basketball where you've got 20, 30, sort of leaders that are building out their particular departments and adding value in those ways. I mean, The Athletic is out there doing something similar, not doing what we're doing, but, they got a lot of people working on their project. You just don't see 50 people working on a project these days, I guess.
All right, well, we've given a lot of things out. We're going to give one more thing out. You are not exempt from this, Brew. As you know, and as everybody listening to the pod knows, we've been giving out a coupon code on every single show for the last week and a half, and we're going to keep doing it as we lead up to opening day. They are not, by the way, to be used in conjunction with any specialty sales that may pop up. These coupon codes are for Draft Guide at whatever the going price is. But, Brew, we're giving $3 off every single day, different coupon code. Guests get to pick their code. I know you run this website, but technically you're a guest today. So what's your code?
Obliteration.
Yeah, you got to set this up through the back end, right?
No, I got to tell somebody else to do it.
Yes, what you need to do. Obliteration is the coupon code. You're going to make it
obliteration because I'm out for blood this year. This is the year.
Can we just make it blood?
What's that?
Can we just make the code blood so that people don't have to type obliteration?
Blood seems a little bit weird though, right?
Anything
it's like a happy medium,
Haymaker? I don't know.
Haymaker. I like it.
Okay. Haymaker.
Yeah.
Haymaker. Haymaker.
Haymaker.
That's right. Hay like hay is for horses. Haymaker is the coupon code. It's $3 off the draft guide. You can tell him Bruski sent you because the person you'll be telling that to? That'll be you. Bruski sent you to Bruski. Okay. Coupon code done. Draft guide promo done. 3 sleepers done. Can we talk a little bit about this zig and zag thing that I've got on the back of my mind?
Sure.
Okay. So here's my thought. There are copious numbers of these guys right now this year. And you can tell me I'm crazy. Nobody else has the stones to tell me I'm crazy. They all come on this podcast and they're just like, "Ooh, Dan's podcast." I'm like, "Do you know who you're talking to? I'm a decrepit little man from West Los Angeles." But you know that. So you can call me out. So I feel like everybody I talk to has these guys, whether it's the, John Collins, who we just talked about, where the hype is sort of really running away with things a little bit, or Jared Allen, where the hype, and you've said you're actually trying to sort of lag behind the hype a little bit. There's like 50 of these guys this year. I've never seen anything like it. So I want to go the Oakland A's technique, which is like as soon as everybody else figures out what I was doing.
That's been on the movie channels lately.
Moneyball? Oh, I love that movie, and it's the last book I read that I liked.
When you're writing the Bruski 50 up, to have Moneyball in the background, that's phenomenal.
That's a beautiful. That's kismet, I think, is a Yiddish term for that. It's the thing, like, once Moneyball was a thing, then everybody was like, "Oh, on base percentage, that's what I need to be studying." And then slugging became a thing in baseball, and then OPS, on base plus slugging, and now it's launch angle, and you always want to be kind of one step ahead. And for me, and because I don't have a team of analysts working on my behalf, some of that is kind of zagging when people are zigging. And so now when everybody's like, "I'm going to get this guy, this young guy who's got a month of data under his belt, and that means that he's going to be the next superstar," everybody starts to outbid one another. And I mean that either for auction or snake draft. In auction, obviously, it's an actual bidding process, but snake outbidding just means people have to keep going earlier to get their guy and eliminating value. Meanwhile, all of these guys that have been in the NBA for 6 years and have never changed are falling. They're not interesting enough. So I'm starting to think maybe the move this year is to start to look at crusty old veterans who are just like, "Hey, I've been a top 70 guy for a decade. Why is no one taking me inside the top 100? And I'm going to end up building my team." And obviously you'll have some, you don't want to take a top 70 guy with your first round pick. But as you get into the 5th, 6th round, when everybody is starting to do these like wild reach type things, you just grab the guy that you're like, "Okay, I know this guy's going to be a top 55 player." Is there anything to that strategy, or is that kind of too boring, and then you miss on the ability to hit a home run to move your team up in the ranks real fast?
Because of the lack of sleep, I don't remember the name of the team that won our league in the Fantasy Basketball Association High Stakes League, which is the toughest fantasy league that's out there. It was born out of the lockout year when there was no fantasy basketball championship. So a bunch of us got together and said, "We're going to keep this going." And, we've been doing it every single year. And I've seen crazy stuff happen in that league where punt strategies, free throw punt strategies. This is a roto league, by the way. Free throw punt strategies, field goal percentage punt strategies, assist punt strategies. Like, these guys, they really know what they're doing. And the winner last year did your strategy. And he went and gobbled up all these mid-round assets. Just his entire team was just mid-round guys, and I think he had like one big-name guy. And I remember thinking, like, how the hell did you win this thing? Like, your entire team sucks. But they all, he towed the line because each of those guys he got at such a discount that they probably were, off the top of my head, more like 4th rounders instead of 7th rounders. And there's value there. So you can look at, like, I don't want to give away names, but like, in early rounds, there's a bunch of old dudes that aren't getting any love, the shiny new toy. And that's the market inefficiency that we're looking to capitalize on. So you don't have to take them, but whatever the defense gives you, if the draft gives you this, then you take that. You might find that this year it's a good year to take chances on guys that, for whatever reason, nobody wants.
So just off the top of my head, and I'm not going to me, I don't think these are guys that fall into the sleeper category in any way. We did an industry mock draft last week with bodies from almost every site you could find out there. We had the ITL guys, 3 dudes from Basketball Monster, 2 dudes from Roto World, We had a guy from Hashtag Basketball. We had a couple guys from here at Hoopball. I mean, it was like the gamut. And I was flabbergasted to see, a guy like Darren Collison. And I know he's like the snooze fest of the fantasy world, but he's falling into the 80s and 90s. And isn't he coming off like a top 50 year? Why is this happening to these old guys?
Darren Collison is the Harrison Barnes of the point guard position. He's very boring, and he takes practically no shots. So all of his numbers come in a vacuum of people thinking they're not good. So yeah, he's one of the higher rated old guys in the B150.
Well, and, I didn't mean to do that to you.
You know what? We got 200 some odd players in the B150 because, of course, you got to have more than the actual number. And so, I mean, the things are going to get out, and that's fine. Yeah. Darren Collison's ADP might raise by 10 points, I would guess, after this release. And, there's still, I'll tell you right now, going to be another 10 ranks that he will be ahead no matter what.
Well, okay.
And in beginner leagues, that's going to be even worse because I don't think beginners understand that he even had a good season last year.
No, and he was excellent last year. Like it wasn't even borderline. It wasn't even that he was like slightly better than good. He was very good last year.
I think the addition of Tyreek Evans probably throws people off a little bit. They don't understand that like that team, everybody's going to fit in the same cubby that they fit in last year. And Tyreek's going to take Lance's spot. I think they're going to think they can get something out of McDermott. We'll see if they can do anything there. But the bigs are going to be exactly what they were last year. If Kyle Quinn plays, he's going to play 10, 15 minutes a game. And it's going to be a very similar season for them over there. And it'll be interesting to see how they do with expectations now.
So we can even talk about so this way I can dodge trying to accidentally unearth too many things from the B150 because we've given out a bunch already. Why don't we just take one of my two guys from last year in Thad Young? This is someone that I pushed like a lunatic last season. I even came up with a hashtag for him.
You know what we didn't do?
What didn't we do?
We didn't talk about how great last year's B150 was.
Well, we got time, man. I still got another 20 minutes on my clock.
Why I bring that up is because like somebody like Taurean Prince, there were drop recommendations for that guy all year.
I know somebody did in my league, and I picked him up right before the keeper deadline. So now I can hold on to him at like I think a lot of
round. 9-cat head-to-head players got so sick of the turnover number, and they couldn't really make out what was going on with him. But this is a guy that the Bruski 150 rated number 41 last year. And he finished at 45.
That's amazing how close that got because it didn't look like it was going to get there. I got a
shout out to Craig Kalinsky, who plays in our ringer leagues. He's like, I love your ranks, man, but there ain't no way in hell that Taurean Prince lands at 41. Oh, how do you like them apples, Craig?
Well, I mean, technically,
how do you like them? No, technically he was right. I didn't get there, but
almost.
Joe Ingles last year, we had him rated at 60. What did he finish at? 40?
Yeah, better than that if I recall.
I got that up here somewhere, but so we haven't done enough pimping last year's guide and how well it did. But there it is. There's going to be a lot of guys that don't get pub because people didn't know exactly how good they were. Like if you read the major sites that write on fantasy, as far as the day-to-day news, they never told you Taurean Prince was good last year. Now, I have a feeling this year everybody's going to know. There's no way they can't know. Like, we're going to have Taurean Prince high. We'll be higher than everybody else. But I don't think it's going to be like last year where you could get him at 100.
Yeah, no. But Thad, you still can. Thad was number 43 in 9-cat last year on totals, and he was in the 60s by average. And this guy is still falling. Last year, you could probably get him at like 125. This year, he's going around 100. There's been an adjustment, but it's not... So this is why, to me, there's this weird... I think there's an opportunity to zag a little bit because there's a bunch of guys like Thad that have been doing it for 7 years that are still in that 100 to 115, 120 range for no for no good reason other than that they're just not that buzzy of a name. And so I think I'm gonna try this out. We're gonna see how it goes.
There are a lot of those guys. I'm just looking at the green on my spreadsheet. The green means good. Like, a lot of them are old. You know what? I'm going to say another one. And I like cringe when I say this.
Is this the fourth sleeper we're doing?
It's not a sleeper.
Oh.
It's Serge Ibaka. Like, I don't want to draft him.
Oh, anti-sleeper.
Yeah, well,
He's
I
actually
don't want to draft him.
He's an us-sleeper. He's asleep.
He's a guy that's probably going to beat his stupid ADP.
Yeah, that's probably true because he's going so crazy late.
He's going 108.5 on ESPN. It might be a little high. He's going to 83 in 9-cat. He's a 9-cat guy. So, I mean, like in my 9-cat ranks, I don't care about giving out Serge Ibaka. Like, they got him at 69 right now. He could probably drop easily.
Yeah, 9-cat, by the way, last year in what has seemed to be just an awful season. 9-cat totals last year, he was number 55.
Right. So, like,
no one would have guessed that. Nobody.
I'm not, like, dying to draft him, but, you know, you could build a strategy based off of getting profit at every juncture because there are a lot of old dudes that are, you know, just sort of staring at you where, you know, the hype's not there, but the value is. I got a bunch of them. I was just looking at some of these guys. Some of the jumps in the Bruski 150 as far as value. I'm looking at a 78 pick jump right now, 79 pick jump. Lots of 40s, lots of 50s.
You know, we have to do one thing here. I got accused in a review on this podcast of not admitting mistakes often enough, and I thought, geez, I feel like we do that all the time. So
let's do that.
So let's talk about one we got wrong last year.
Can we talk about the big one?
Well,
the worst fantasy pick of all time?
I think the one I got wrong last year was I'll say Jamal Murray. I didn't think he was going to be that good.
I don't lose sleep over that pick. There was 3 point guards on the roster during draft season.
Oh, I know, but I'm not even going to make any excuses. He did better than I thought he was going to do. We know, by the way, that like injuries and guys getting released that obviously help. But you know what? He stepped through that door. So to his credit, I severely underrated
you know what?
him.
If you had said there's going to be no Jameer Nelson, no Emmanuel Mudiay, and Paul Millsap's going to get hurt.
Yes, I think we would have moved him higher.
Then his rating is entirely different. Like,
I still don't think I would have put him as high as he ended up, even if I knew all that stuff. It would have been higher, certainly, but I don't know if I would have gone as high as it was. But like I didn't go out on a limb.
Well, he also, I think he
shot.
I forget his final free throw number. He was at 93, 94% for a while. That was kind of unheard of.
Yeah,
so
it really was.
I mean. Yeah, I don't lose sleep over that one. And I don't even really lose sleep over the Kawhi pick. Kawhi crushed me. I had great fantasy teams that, with Kawhi burning a hole on the bench all year, finishing with 55, 60 roto points in a 12-team league, you're still getting third place, that kind of a thing. And going, well, what if I had my first-round pick? That would have been nice.
Yeah.
Or I was getting him in the third round at times. And you don't expect Mr. Has the best reputation in the league and the franchise with the best reputation in the league to have a squabble, essentially, and take a year off, which is essentially what most people think happened with Kawhi. So something wasn't right there, and you gamble and you lose sometimes, and that, for me, I have to gamble a little bit to beat these guys, that I play against. Because if you play it safe, you're going to get fifth.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And that's probably why I don't end up spending a ton of time on the podcast going over mistakes, is because I don't gamble as much. So when I'm on here, it's like, well, what did I miss on? They're kind of small. I hit on things that are a little bit small, and I miss on things that are a little small. So maybe either way, I take these criticisms seriously. I wanted to make sure that if the person who wrote it is listening.
I put, actually, for your listeners that might want to know about what didn't look good, go to that article evaluating the 2017-18 Bruski 150. I have every pick that I made, last year's notes. We rate the impact of each pick. Was the pick really bad? That means red. Was it great? It means green. Like, you can see, like, I had Miles Turner too high. That was something that really hurt a lot of owners, because that's your second round pick. And What we learned about Miles Turner is that he was fat. He was fat. No, I mean, it's funny to say it like that, but like he was overweight. So where'd your blocks go? Where'd your minutes go? You didn't get the touches that we thought you were going to get. So, that's what we're going to key on for this year. Is he fat?
How do we know? Muscle Watch 2K18.
Early reports suggest that he's not fat. And you know what? Sometimes it takes a little bit of a, oh, hey, by the way, you can't eat that anymore.
Yeah, kudos to a guy like Gabe Kapler, who gets ripped apart in baseball, but I know when he took over the Dodgers farm system, he stopped letting them choose their own meals. Those kids didn't get to choose their own food anymore. He forced them to eat healthy stuff all the time, and it was probably disgusting, but they're probably better for it. So, okay. So I think another one I missed on was Aaron Gordon. I thought he was going to go higher than he went last year. I've had some interesting talks about Aaron Gordon on this podcast lately, where people that remember the entire season remember how awesome he was for the first month and a half. But most people remember him laying bricks like he was working on a house for one of the three pigs.
He hit 60% of his threes. It was like people had never seen a hot streak before.
Yeah, it cooled off hard. I got on the hype train on that one, and I learned my lesson. That's why I've had so many podcasts where the end result is me saying, don't buy the hype, because I got caught in it, and, I won't anymore. So anyway, you can check out the, what do you call it, the B150 in review. What's the name of that article?
It was evaluating the 2017-18 Bruski 150.
And that is not in the draft guide. That's free at Hoopball?
No, that's free. It's just sitting out there. You can just type Bruski 150 into the search bar and then find the article that I'm talking about. And we do tallies. Basically, how was my rating compared to ADP? How's it compared to RotoWorld? The impact, it's a very qualitative review on the impact side. But, if like, two sites make a pick and ADP would have grabbed the player before, both sites are going to miss it. Like, that's not having a lot of impact. Both sites did their job. But if you're like way high on somebody like Dennis Smith Jr., we weren't high on him last year.
We were not.
He was rated like number 40 or something. I don't have it right in front of me, but like, you're burning a big pick for that guy, to get him ahead of ADP. So we're using a very make sense approach to evaluate these things, so we can see what happened. What was the lesson we learned from Miles Turner? I think the lesson we learned is that you project him where you think he's going to land because you think he's going to improve. But the reality of it is the only thing he can do is go beneath that mark. And sometimes there's players that are like Donovan Mitchell, that you look at his college numbers and you go, how the hell is he going to go to the NBA and improve on those? And it's something that's almost unpredictable. And you have to decide in this industry where you're going to take your shots. Do you believe that player X is going to exceed a projectable position? And that's where the fun part is.
All right, well, they listened to the end, which means they get the fourth sleeper.
Oh, who's the fourth?
Who's the fourth? Sleeper? Who was the last one you were working on?
Oh, let's see. You know what? Because I got this feeling that Buddy Hield's not a sleeper. So I'm going to go with Buddy Hield because he's got some serious pop.
You're taking us to Sacktown, huh? The team that I just can't figure out to save my life.
And honestly, this could completely implode.
His ADP, by the way, 90 right now. 90, the ADP on Buddy
90
Hield.
in Yahoo, and then 110 in ESPN.
Who the hell plays at ESPN? Jesus, these ADPs are nuts.
I think that they just started. That's the only thing I can think of. And like a lot of their ADPs were like really, they looked like rankings.
Yeah.
So maybe those are a lot of auto drafts.
Okay, so tell me more about Buddy Hield. He's our fourth and final sleeper on today's show. The Bruski Welcome Back to the Pod Show, where you're giving out a quarter of your sleepers.
He's getting about 2 to 4 rounds of value on ADP here. I got him at 68 in 8 cat and 68 as well in 9 cat. So he's I think the key is that, I think a lot of people think he's going to play like 30 minutes a game this year, and that's not what's going to happen. Buddy Hield is a good fantasy asset. He has extremely good percentages, and those shooting percentages keep him really valuable in low amounts of minutes. And so this rank reflects not this massive jump in production or playing time, just an incremental jump. The organization could do anything. They could do anything. I repeat, they could literally do anything, and it would not surprise me. I got him at 26 and a half minutes.
That's not very high, actually. I think that's only like a minute. That about a minute more than last year?
Something like that off the top of my head, yeah.
Interesting.
They are log jammed all over the place. I could maybe even bump him up a little bit just because I don't know if I trust Bogdan Bogdanovic's knee right now. But they can completely screw this up any which way. In fact, Hield was in the doghouse all last year, and they completely misused him, and he didn't get enough minutes. And even when they were so, quote unquote, not playing the veterans, which was just the dumbest thing in the world, Hield still didn't get the type of run that he should have gotten. He's so raw. I mean, the one thing he can do, though, with his feet set, I think in a 3-point shooting contest, I would have him, right up there with Stephen Clay, and he's that level of a shooter. The other stuff is the dribbling and the shot finishing and the passing and the court vision, shooting a little bit too much. Those are the things that hold him back. Defensively, he will work like a dog out there, but sometimes the quickness isn't there, and sometimes the awareness isn't there. So he struggles a little bit in those departments, and the Kings don't have any small forwards on their roster other than Justin Jackson, who probably can't hang. So they're going to play some small guard lineups, I think. And, Hield, I don't think he can play the 3, so they're going to try to put Bogdanovic there. They got too many guards. It's ugly, but he's still going to persevere through all that. And so I think there's going to be a few other sites on his tail. So I don't know, in an intermediate to expert league, if you're going to get a great discount on Hield, you might actually be put into a position of risk on Buddy Hield. But compared to ADP, he's about 40 slots ahead.
Aaron Bruski, goodness gracious, my man. Welcome back to the pod. Woo.
Yeah, it's good to have. It's good to be on your show, man. Your show is now had boasts of luminaries from all over the world, and I'm just a small piece of what. I'm glad that I can still get on your show.
Yeah, we had to have our people get in touch, make sure we could get a time worked out. I'm glad that we made that happen. 4 sleepers on today's podcast. Some of them you may classify as slightly more awake, but 4 sleepers on this podcast. Bruski's welcome back to Fantasy NBA today. You can follow Aaron on Twitter at Aaron Bruski. You can follow Hoopball on Twitter at Hoopball Tweets, at Hoopball Fantasy. I am at Dan Besbris. Remember, the coupon code, if you want to get yourself a draft guide at $3 off, is Haymaker. Haymaker. Haymaker is the coupon code for $3 off. That's about what we got. It's weekend time. Next week, you're going to hear from a bunch more guests. We still have a whole bunch of these interviews in the can that I haven't been able to get to you guys yet, including Mike Pellichet. We're going to talk Pelicans on next week's show. We've got a chat on the mock draft. I've got an industry mock draft to go over. We're going to cover that 3 rounds at a time. We're going to have 9 different guests from that mock draft over the next couple of weeks. It's crazy. It's out of control. All I do all day is talk about basketball, and it's the greatest. Should you feel so inclined, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast. We appreciate that feedback. Constructive criticism, hell, we talked about it on today's show. We look at that, too. We take everything seriously. We love having you around. We love having you as listeners. And Brew certainly loves having you as readers and subscribers as well. Big thank you to Darren Bruski for coming back on the pod. I am Dan Besbris. Have a wonderful weekend. We will talk to you Monday.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.